And as you can see, it looks like I'm gonna have to clean this up a little more again, just from it sitting upside down. You got oil that leaked out, so I'm gonna have to blow out all these holes again, unfortunately. Let me just kind of get this cleaned up here real quick. All right guys, so now let's move on to getting our lifters in. So like I said earlier in the video, I went ahead and just soaked it in this old coffee can here. These have been soaking for probably a week and a half now, almost 2 weeks. And you can see them down in there. Of course, just make sure all the coffee grounds are washed out of there. And these are going to be the Powerstoke products lifters. And what I'm going to use is just a magnet here to get them out of there, out of the oil. And the oil I got them soaking is just the Shell Rotella T6 540. That's what I'll be using in this motor. I know there's better oils out there, but this stuff's easy to find. You can get it locally at Walmart, and it's pretty decently priced for a full synthetic oil. So that's what I'll be using. And let me get one out of here. So try to get it cleaned off or let it drip as much as it can back into the coffee can there. Get it off the magnet here. And what you're going to do is you want the roller side to be down towards the motor. And if you notice, there's a flat spot up here on the top and on the bottom, and then around. That's how you want it to go in, because that's how the lifter tray is going to sit into the lifter there. So go ahead and just kind of set this down in there. Let it slide down into place, so you can kind of see how that one's sitting in there. And just go ahead and repeat that same process for all these along on this side. And if you need to, you guys can actually turn them too while they're in here, just in case they don't line up there. Okay, so just like that, there's that side. And some of them might stick up just a little bit. That's normal. It's just the way your camshaft is sitting there. So now let's go ahead and do the other side. And then guys, I'm all about uniformity, so I prefer to have things facing the same way. But if you see, you can see that says PP lifter for Powerstoke products. I usually put that up facing the top of the motor. It doesn't really matter, but just one of those weird pet peeves I kind of have. Okay guys, so just like that. And actually I wasn't paying attention, I almost put that one in upside down. But just go through, make sure they're all pretty much centered, so the lifter tray will sit in there. Those all look good. So then go ahead and grab your tray. I'll do the front one first. So if you remember, this one had the kind of like a goldish brass colored bolt. And then I'm putting these on the same exact way as they were in there. So you got this little notch on the top. I don't know if, I'm sure it doesn't make any difference, but I like to just put things back the way they were. So go ahead and slide this guy down in there. And just make sure you get locked on. You'll kind of feel it press onto all those lifters. You'll know if one's not seated in the tray. But you get that nice and flat. Get this bolt started here. And we'll go ahead and get the back tray there. This one's the same thing. The notch was pointing up. So let's go ahead and get this one in. Just make sure these are centered, and they'll kind of center themselves on there. Just got to wiggle the tray around just a little bit. But kind of, you see how it just kind of pushes in and almost like a click. Just like that. We'll go ahead and do the other side because this one has the branch tube that holds that down. And then of course, same thing on the passenger side here. So this one, these were actually pointed down on this side for some reason, but like I said, I don't think it makes a difference, but I'm still gonna put it back the way it came off. Make sure those are centered. So next, go ahead and grab your high pressure oil pump tubes here that connect to the lifters. And let's go ahead and slide these in. Then you got your bolt right here. Go ahead and get that kind of screwed in. And then you can go ahead and grab your two Torx screws here that will screw into the back lifter trays. Get those kind of started. May need to adjust this a little bit to get those holes to line up. So get those kind of started. So then get that kind of somewhat snug. Grab your torque wrench, and forward calls for that to be at 10 foot-pounds. So go ahead and torque that. Then go ahead and grab your Torx T30. Get these two snug on here. Grab your torque wrench, and those are also going to be 10 foot-pounds each. And then grab a 10 millimeter, torque these ones, gonna be the same thing, 10 foot-pounds. Same thing on the other side. All right guys, so with the lifters in, now we should be ready to start assembling our head gaskets and getting our new cylinder heads on. So one more time, I'm gonna go over this. Just spray some brake clean on my rag, make sure this is all clean. Take my air compressor and I'll blow out these holes with a rag. Make sure all these bolt holes are clean of debris or any oil, because we want to get the perfect torque spec on this. And I'll probably do the same to these ones up here as well. Just get everything cleaned and blown out. Okay guys, so the studs I'm going to be using are Gator fasteners. I got these from Blessed Performance. As you can see, they're the Blessed Performance Edition. Highly rated by those guys. And it's pretty cool just how their packaging is. So you get your instructions and all that. And they also give you a free t-shirt. And then just, like I said, it's kind of cool how the packaging is. So that you get you a sticker and then all your nuts individually wrapped with your washers. And then they give you a full tube of AMSOIL assembly lube, which is kind of neat. And then some confetti. Of course, that doesn't relate to the truck, but... And then check out all the studs. So they're individually capped, so the threads don't get ruined during shipping. And looks like that's about it. So let's go ahead and get one of these sets in on one of the sides and go from there. Okay guys, and then for the upper gaskets, so I did go with the Powerstoke products ones. Not really a number on it, but these are going to be the 18 millimeter heads, and this is the complete top end gasket set from those guys. And they prefer you use their head gaskets with their heads, which I'll be using. You can get by, I think, with Ford or Molly but I know they say do not use the Felpro ones with O-ringed heads, so just keep that in mind. And if you open this up, you can see it includes everything you need for the top end to do on this job here. Probably a lot of gaskets I won't even use out of this just because it came with some of my other parts, but we got them in case we need them. And then this is what I'm looking for. So grab your dowels out of here, and then we'll go ahead and get our studs put into place. And then if you see, it's kind of hard to see them down here, but underneath here, that's going to be our head gaskets. So now let's go ahead and install our dowels. And you may need to squeeze this a little bit to get it kind of into the hole there. Get it nice and level. And then you may just need to kind of tap it in like that. Do your other one over here. So it's kind of hard to get them somewhat started in here. Just go till they bottom out. So now we can go ahead and get our studs in. Now Gator recommends that you use a thread chaser on these, but I've used plenty of brake clean and then blew these out multiple times with the compressed air to make sure there's nothing else in there. And then you can kind of just take a peek with your flashlight. Just make sure there ain't nothing in there that's going to prevent these from torquing correctly. So then what you do, grab your stud, and you're going to take off the side with the coarse threads. That's the side that's going to go down into the block. Take you some assembly lube, and let me go ahead and cut this real quick. Take you the assembly lube, and they say to just go ahead and lube up the threads here. And go ahead and get these started in here. Of course, that just comes off too. And they say to just go finger tight with these. That's all you want to do. Stick them down in there, get them finger tight. And you'll feel them kind of stop there. And then just go ahead and continue on, get the rest of these in here. If you guys feel any hesitation, you can back it back out. Just double check. See, and this one's kind of go in and, oh, there it goes. Felt like it was going in kind of rough, but it's not. So just like that. All right, guys, so what I like to do, like I said, these are, you get these kind of finger tight, and you can take a 3/16 Allen head and just go through, and I like to just bottom them out. You're not, just like that, to where it just pretty much stops and won't turn with any force. Right there, like that. Bottom out there. I mean, it's pretty much like maybe 2 foot-pound, if that. See, this one had to go in just a little more, so it kind of stopped. That one there pretty much stopped. There. So in on that one. So like I said, just a little bit to where they just bottom out right there. No force to press them. That one didn't take much at all. So just like that. And then one last time, just double check, make sure this is all clean. You can see I got some assembly lube there. You want that surface to be spotless, so just make sure you wipe it. Spray some brake cleaner on your rag here. Go ahead and go over the surface again just to make sure it's clean, or if you spilled any of that assembly lube from your studs. So then go ahead and grab your new head gasket, and you want to install them to where you can see right down here is the lettering PSP standard, so Powerstoke products standard. Go ahead and slide this over. You may have to kind of work it on there a little bit. Just don't bend it or anything as you're doing this. Just get stuck on this one. There we go. Get that into place. Get it around your dowels. So just like that, and then you want to look and just make sure your push rod holes line up as well. So just make sure all those line up. And then of course your bolt holes, your oil holes, and that one looks good. So before I get the new head on, I'm going to go ahead and get the other side prepped just like this. Okay guys, so again, here are the heads. I went with the Powerstoke products O-ringed heads with the heavy duty valve springs that are already loaded and everything. You can see they come nicely boxed, and then they have a nice foam and then some foam on the bottom there. So they're packaged really nice. So let me go ahead and get these out of the plastic wrap and we'll get one on. Okay guys, so I just want to show you the bottom portion of this. So there's the O-ring head, and then I went ahead and took some compressed air because the cardboard they packed this in leaves little bits of fiber on this. So go ahead and blow that off with some compressed air. I'll probably just run a rag with some brake clean on the bottom of this before I go ahead and throw it on. And then kind of the same thing, blew out where the valve springs are. All right guys, so let's go ahead and get this head put on. Slowly slide it on there, just like that. Okay guys, so now that we got our heads all on, next we'll go and do the rocker boxes, but I need to let my camera charge for a little bit here. So while that's charging, I'll go ahead and clean up those rocker boxes and then we'll continue on. But again, these are the Powerstoke products O-ringed heads with the heavy duty valve springs. They already come loaded and everything. They look awesome. Okay guys, so I went ahead and let my camera charge, and while I did that, went ahead and cleaned up the rocker box really good. Again, I just sprayed it in some simple green, and then just kind of used just a brush, cleaned it all up. Looks a lot better because this was all caked in a bunch of dirt and grease. So, and then I went ahead and pressure washed it, and then of course blew dry everything. So now we should be ready to put them on. And then also went ahead and put in the new gasket from Powerstoke products in that upper gasket set I got. So went ahead and installed those on both. So now we should be ready to put them on. So go ahead and slide these on. And then you do have these two dowels on each end. Make sure those are in there, because those will fit into these two holes here. And go ahead and slide this in place. Make sure those dowels line up. And just like that. And same thing on this side. Just like that. And then also, guys, I forgot to mention, so these new heads from Powerstoke products, they don't include the plug for your fuel here on either end. Now I will be doing a regulated fuel return, so I'm not too worried about that. But if you guys aren't doing that, you want to make sure you pull off the old plugs from your old heads and go ahead and install those into there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put in these 5 top bolts here on each side. Just kind of drop them in there. And then I just want to get them kind of started by finger here, just to make sure they're lining up. Okay guys, now let's go ahead and install our push rods. So I went with the Powerstoke products heavy duty push rods for the 6.0. And grab one of these guys. You can even see on here, it says Powerstoke products PP 6.0 heavy duty push rod. And then I'll be using some Lubriplate on both ends of it. I prefer to use this because or you can use the AMS oil assembly lube, but that stuff's just so sticky. This is a lot less sticky. So, like I said, just put a little dab on the end here. Same with this end here. And then let's go ahead and stick these in. So you want to slide it through, make sure it goes through the head gasket there. Once you get it there, you just want to make sure that it kind of seats in there. You'll kind of know when it doesn't. And let's go ahead and do that to all these. And you'll kind of know when you don't get through the head gasket there. But then when you do get on it, you push it down, you'll feel kind of a spring back on it. Okay, so just like that, let's go ahead and do the other side. See guys, this one I'm having a little trouble getting down through there. So if you need to, you use your flashlight just to make sure. Just get going at the wrong angle, see? Again, feel that spring tension back. Okay, so just like that, guys. Again, just go through, just kind of, like I said, push down on them. You'll feel them spring back just a hair. Then you know you're kind of locked on to that lifter. You can see it spring. Just like that, guys. And then I'll probably just put a little more since it kind of wore off. And this stuff won't clog the oil holes there. Okay guys, now let's get our valve spring bridges across. But before I do that, just gonna put a dab of assembly lube just on top of the valves here. So like I said, just a little dot is all you need. Go ahead and do that to all these. Then you can go ahead and grab your bridges here. Get those across. I'm just kind of putting them on the way they were. And I pulled them off. Just like that. Let's do the other side. Then just take you some more Lubriplate. Just put you a little dot right here where the on top of your bridges. Next, go ahead and grab your rocker arms. Let's get those in place. Just make sure that gets set on top of the push rod there, and then on top of your bridge. Get your bolt on here. Just gonna go finger tight for now on these. Just get them kind of started here. We'll do the rest of those. And then as you guys are doing this, just make sure, see that little ball bearing right there is in place. And again, you get it centered on the push rod there. Go ahead and do the other side. So next, go ahead and grab your washers and go ahead and just set those on there. So next they say to take some of the AMSOIL assembly lube, and you're gonna coat the threads of the studs and then also just the top of the washer. So if you just get a little bit on there, it'll kind of work its way down onto the washer. Kind of like that. Like I said, gravity will work itself onto the washer there. Okay guys, so once that has worked its way onto the threads and washers, go ahead and start screwing on your head stud nuts. Just kind of go and get these finger tight. Okay guys, so now the fun part, getting these torqued down. So Gator Fasteners gives you this with their head studs and shows you the sequence and then the procedure and all that. So there's going to be a total of 4 stages that we need to do on torquing these, except for the the inner row head bolts. So those small ones up top, you're only going to do one stage on those, because if you read here, it says the OEM bolts 11 through 15, so these guys will only be torqued in the first sequence of 23 foot-pounds, unless you're using their fasteners, but they didn't send those with these, so I'm not using those. If you use theirs, it'll be 25 foot-pounds. But then you can see the first one, we're going to do 23 foot-pounds. Of course, that's 1 through 15, so everything. Second, 90 foot-pounds, 1 through 10, so just these. Third, 170 foot-pounds, 1 through 10. And then fourth is going to be 240 foot-pounds, which is going to be a lot on the 1 through 10. So my half-inch torque wrench only goes down to 25, so I'll be using my 3/8 one just for the first stage, and then I'll bump that up to the half-inch torque wrench, and we'll keep going forward. So let's go ahead and start on this. Okay guys, so here we go, 23 foot-pounds. And then I'll just probably time lapse this, guys, because it's going to take a while. Okay, so there's 1 through 10, 23 foot-pounds. So then do your top ones here. So like I said, this will be 11, 23 foot-pounds. Just double check. Yep. This will be 12. $13. $14. And 15. Okay, and like I said, that's it for these guys. You just do the one sequence on these. So let me go ahead and do the other side. I'm not going to record that because it'll be the same. I'll get all those torqued, and then we'll go on to the second stage. Okay guys, on to the second stage, and that'll be 90 foot-pounds, 1 through 10. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but you will need to use a 12.18 millimeter socket. Okay, so now the third stage, I went ahead and moved my camera because I'm going to need some room here. This one's going to be 170 foot-pounds, so quite a bit. Okay guys, so now the fourth and final stage, which is going to be 240 foot-pounds, and this does give you a workout. I don't know how the guys do it with the cab on, because just getting your torque wrench in here and being able to push 240 foot-pounds is quite a bit. So let's go ahead and do that now. Double check, make sure I'm at 240. Here we go. So you can see how much force that takes. Okay guys, so right there, that's 240 foot-pounds. Like I said, it does give you a workout. So let me go ahead and get the other side done, and then we'll be done with this. Okay guys, got all those torqued down, so now those hopefully those heads will never stretch again. But I just went ahead and also just cleaned up some of this excess assembly lube that was dripping down. The stuff in the engine you don't really need to worry about because it'll dissolve in the oil once it warms up and everything. Now let's go ahead and torque down our rocker arms, and those will be 23 foot-pounds. All right guys, let's go ahead and move on to the injectors now. So I'll be putting in these holders premiums. These are the 175cc with 30% nozzles. I got these through Blessed Performance. And just make sure pull that cap off there. Don't want to install it with that. And then I got a cap full of fresh motor oil. And I'm just going to go ahead and coat these O-rings in some of this fresh motor oil real quick. Just so they don't get torn when we slide them in here. Always want lubrication on these. Or you could use Lubriplate, or some assembly lube works as well too. I just got a cap of fresh motor oil laying here. So get those coated. And then, of course, your hold down here. You can see you got that little notch right there. That's going to fit into that notch right there like that. And then of course, go ahead and slide her down in there. It's kind of hard to get your fingers down in here. Don't worry about your electrical connector yet. Let's get that kind of in there. Sure if I'm in there or not. It's kind of like that. Then you'll want to grab your T40 Torx bit and just kind of screw this down in there by hand. You can see it's working its way down on there. We'll move on to the others. And then also just make sure that copper washer is on the bottom there. Alright guys, so this clip that you're seeing right now is actually I'm backtracking. I had all this stuff together, the valve cover on, everything, and I realized after I put the glow plugs in that I was missing my rocker box bolts. So you got these 4 here, and then you got these 4 that go behind where the injector pops through the rocker box there. So go ahead and just get these in here. Like I said, this clip is backtracking, but I'm going to throw it in to where you guys won't forget to do this. And these probably aren't needed, like I said, because these are only going to be torqued to 23 foot-pounds. I mean, the studs and the nuts are pretty much holding these rocker boxes on, but I don't like to do things half-fast. So let me grab a 10 millimeter. We'll get these snug, and then we'll torque them. And then Ford doesn't show a sequence for these at all, so I'm just going to kind of start up here and then work my way out. Grab your torque wrench. Again, torque those to 23 foot-pounds. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and just get these hold down snug here, and then we'll go ahead and do the torque on them. You can see as you drive these down, it slowly pushes the injector down into the cylinder head here. So just go, like I said, hand tight, and then we'll do torque on them. So then go ahead and grab your torque wrench, and Ford says that we need to torque these at 24 foot-pounds, but since we're reusing the hold downs, you'll want to go to 30 foot-pounds instead. That way you don't have any issues with misfires or any of that. So go ahead and torque these to 30. Like that. So next, some of that same oil, I'm going to just coat the inside here with a little bit of it, just so it'll lubricate this blue O-ring when we go to stick these or slide these in. Then what you want to do, go ahead and slide these up in here. Kind of like that. And then you may need to use a little force here and push those up in there. Make sure those bottom out, and then they kind of clip into place. These here, little snap up here. So get all these shoved up in here. So kind of like that. And then just make sure that your wires are not going to hit any of the rocker arms or any of that moving parts here. All right guys, so make sure, like I said, these little teeth, they kind of expand out onto this circle part here, because you can see this one here is not all the way in. So once you go to plug this in, it's going to push that back through. So you may just, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of hard to get these pushed all the way through. These ones are fine, but it's this one here. So we really got to, like I said, push on this. It just does not want to poke through. So you can see I barely tap on it. Comes back through. It's just those brand new O-rings. So let's try it again here. There we go. So like I said, now you can see those kind of expanded. So that's what you're looking for. You want to make sure those are all the way in, because like I said, if not, you go to plug this in and then it's going to pop back out, and then you got to take your valve cover, everything else off. So make sure these are clipped into place. Okay guys, so onto the oil rail here. So I am going to be replacing the nipple cups here. I got some replacement ones here from HHC Diesel. Also includes the new ones here, and then with a new O-ring, and then they also give you a impact tool to get those off as well. And here's just kind of the instructions. They say to just pull it out and then lube up the new O-ring and then hand tight with the tool, and then we're going to torque those to 100 foot-pounds. So get your impact out, get this tool on here, and you can go ahead and spin this off of here. So get that kind of spun off, and you can pull this out here. So there's that. And let me get a pick to get that O-ring out. So down inside here will be the old O-ring that you want to remove out of here. There's that. And it's pretty kind of hard, so definitely need it replaced. So then take your new O-ring here. I'm just going to dip it in this brand new oil. Go ahead and set this down in there. Get it kind of pressed in there. Grab your new cup here. And then if you notice, you can see the difference in them. So you can see they're redesigned. So these should be leak proof. Go ahead and set this in there. Get this back on here. Get this kind of started by hand. Once you get that started by hand, it's going to be really hard to torque these to 100 foot-pounds. So what I'm going to use is, this is for actually lug nuts, these torque bars. You can see it's right at 100 foot-pounds, and it won't go past that. So I'll use my impact with this, and then we should be right at 100 foot-pounds. The other thing you can do is maybe mount this in a vise, or have somebody hold it while you go ahead and torque it, but this would probably be the best option if you guys got these. So go ahead and torque that down. You can see it won't go past that, just like that. So let me go ahead and do the rest of these real quick. Same way. So there's those. Got all those in, and these do move, so just so you guys know. But we want to make sure they're centered from when they go inside or on top of the injector there. So let me go ahead and do the other one here. Okay guys, so before we install the oil rail, there is a little O-ring inside the fuel injector here. So Ford says to use just some engine oil or whatever, lubricate, assembly lube, whatever you got. I'm just going to put a dot of this lubricate inside, because you just don't want those nipples tearing that O-ring that's on these injectors. So like I said, just a little bit there, kind of rub it in, help guide that through. And then go ahead and get your oil rail on here. Of course, your passenger side is going to be different than the driver's, because you'll have your ICP sensor here. So again, Just make sure those nipple cups are going to go into the fuel injectors there. Get that kind of set into place. Just like that. Then you can go ahead and grab your Torx T30s. And let's go ahead and just kind of get these in by hand here, finger tight. And then we will do a torque spec for all these. Just had to wipe my hands off. It gets kind of oily on here. So just make sure these are seated on there. You can see I just pushed it on. That locks it into the injectors. So now I'll go ahead and get these kind of hand tight here. All right, guys, so go ahead and grab your torque wrench. We're going to torque all those to 10 foot-pounds, but there is a special sequence they want you to go in. So we're going to start up here. This is going to be number 1. Come down here to number 2. Over here to 3. Up here to 4. Over here to 5. 6. Back over here to 7. 8. And then 9. So now we go ahead and get our dummy plug and new standpipe in. So this is the part number for the updated standpipe. Like I said, mine were already updated, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw a new one in just to be safe. And there's the part number for the dummy plug. So on these guys, I'm just going to go ahead and lube up the O-rings on them, just so they slide in there smoothly. Same with the dummy plug as well. And the standpipe will go to the rear of the engine, and then your dummy plug is going to go up front. So like I said, I just put a little bit of this on there just to help guide it down in there. Never want to tear these old or these new O-rings. Then you go ahead and slide this down in there. Get that started in there. Same with your dummy plug here. Then go ahead and grab your 12mm Allen. Let's go ahead and get these snug, and then we'll torque them. Grab your torque wrench. You're going to torque those to 60 foot-pounds. Okay, now I'll go ahead and move on to the other side really quick. Okay guys, so back over to the passenger side here where the ICP goes in. So your Powerstoke products gasket kit will have a new one of these. So go ahead and replace that. Just go ahead and pop that off of there like that. You can see this one's pretty worn out. And let me wipe some of that oil. Just clean a little bit of that up. Go ahead and set your new gasket in there. Okay guys, so needed to let my phone charge there for a while. While I did that, I went ahead and cleaned the driver and passenger valve cover here. So I took everything off and then just again soaked it in some simple green, rinsed it off. And this here, your oil fill, this just unscrews out of here. It's pretty hard, but you gotta just really get your hand on there and unscrew it. And then there is an O-ring on here. I looked inside the gasket set, but I could not find one that fit exactly to this. So I'll see what we have left over at the end, and then see if maybe we can find one that'll kind of fit on that. But like I said, this just went ahead and screws into the valve cover here, or unscrew it to get it off. You can see it just kind of sits in there. So get that tight, like that. And then it does come with new valve cover gaskets, and then these little rubber plugs that go on the valve cover screws here. So let's go ahead and change those out real quick. Okay guys, so they give you this whole bag of these rubber type plug things, I guess, spacers, whatever you call them. But they go on these bolts for the valve covers, and then you also get new valve cover gaskets. I kind of have these laid out right now where they kind of were. Hopefully, I think they're laid out correctly. You know, because some are studs, some are nuts, some are bolts. But you take these and then you go ahead and pop these off of the old ones here. So you got to kind of get under them. You can see those just pop off like that. And looks like they're the same on both sides, so don't worry about how they go. But let me go ahead and get all these swapped out real quick. So then take your new valve cover gasket, make sure it lines up here like that. I think we're good there. And then I'll just kind of flip this over and go ahead and just get a couple of these like end bolts in. So maybe that one, and then this one over here. And then we'll kind of go ahead and get that onto the rocker box there. So go ahead and set this on. Like I said, just kind of get it set on here, and then a couple of them at least started to hold it on here. You just want to make sure that those get centered in there. And then you can kind of adjust this how you need to, because you can see this needs to come up some. Grab the rest of your bolts, go ahead and get those started. So kind of like that, and I hope I got the studs and bolts in the right spots. So starting with up here all the way down to right here below the oil fill neck is the studs, and then you got 4 bolts back here. I'll go through my previous videos just to make sure that's how those were. And yes guys, that is the right orientation. I went ahead and just looked. So let's go ahead and get all these snug, and then we'll go ahead and do a torque on them. Then grab a torque wrench. All those are going to be torqued to 80 inch-pounds. and there is no sequence or anything on it, so I'll just start from the inside, work my way out. 80 inch-pounds, which really isn't much at all. So next we'll go ahead and get our ICP sensor in there. So I think this is the O-ring they give you. Again, it came in that lower end kit, but nothing's labeled. So I'm hoping this is the correct O-ring for this. So let's go ahead and pull that off of there. And then let's see, it looks to be about the same size. So I think that's the correct O-ring. So just go ahead and got a little oil in here. You can kind of just rub that on this if you want. And then go ahead and stick that guy on there. And then we'll go ahead and screw this in. Grab my torque wrench. Then grab a torque wrench, and this is going to be a 24 millimeter, or you can just use a wrench, but this is going to be right at 9 foot-pounds or 12 newton meters. You can see really not much at all. Next, go ahead and get your glow plug controller back on here. That's what those studs are for. The bracket for that. And then all your nuts. And then I went ahead and just screwed that nut on there. This one's for the transmission dipstick. And we go to put it back in. And then go ahead and snug those up. Okay guys, so the driver's side valve cover is a little different. I went ahead and took it apart and cleaned everything. So this was mounted onto here like this. This is for your crankcase ventilation. I wanted to take that off because I didn't want to get water or anything in that, because who knows what's in this thing. But that's just held on here by some Torx T30 screws. And there was these little gaskets in between here. So the new kit does include the new ones. So that's what those look like. And then if you take a look on here, these will actually sit into here. So they're the same on both ends. So all you do is get these, and you're gonna stick these in here. Those will sit in there like that. Let's get all 4 of those in there. And you can see I got this all cleaned up as good as I can. So then this will sit on top of here. Get your holes lined up. Now these screws did have blue Loctite on them, as you can see. Not really sure why, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put some on just in case. You never know. So here's some blue 242 Loctite. Just put a little bit on here, not much. Like that. Then I'll go ahead and get these in here. Not really sure the torque on this. I didn't really find much on it in the Ford manual, so I'm not too worried about it. But just go ahead and screw that back on. Just like that. And then there was this on there too. This goes on the end here, and just like the oil fill tube, it looks like pretty much the same exact gasket, and I didn't see anything in the kit that looked similar to that one. So again, just gonna stick this back in there, and let me grab a 3/8. That's all that you need to tighten that up or loosen it. So go ahead and get that in there and just get that snug. Just get it snug. You'll let that O-ring do the rest. Now we should be ready to put this valve cover on. So let me grab my new gasket, and then I'll go ahead and swap these out. I'm not going to show that on camera since you already saw that. But let me get these swapped out, and then we'll get it mounted. So now I'll go ahead and get all these snug, and then we'll torque them again. And then again, 80 inch-pounds. Then you can go ahead and grab your brackets. And I just realized, guys, I messed up. So these two are correct here. But this stud here, I need to pull out and swap with this bolt here for the backside, because that's where this one's gonna mount. So sorry about that. So let me just get these kind of on here, and let me get that swapped out real quick. Okay, now it should be correct, guys. So you got this one here that's gonna go right there like that. And get these two on here. I'm not going to snug these up yet, because when we go to stick the engine back into the bay there, I did have to remove this just to give us a little more clearance. But just get it on there like that for now. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and install all 8 glow plugs. Just went with the original Motorcraft ones. There's the part number. Got these off Amazon. Put a link in the description for them. They seem to be the cheapest. But go ahead and drop those down in there. Then we'll get them snug. And we'll go ahead and torque them as well. And those will be a 10 millimeter on those. And then you'll want to torque those to 14 foot-pounds. Okay guys, so as I was putting these glow plugs in, I noticed I got some empty holes here. So I totally forgot to put those rocker box bolts back in. They don't really do too much. They're only torqued to like 23 foot-pounds, but they do help hold the rocker box a little more to the cylinder head. So these ones are easy to get to, at least. We can just drop those ones in, but the other 4 are located under the valve cover, unfortunately. So I don't like doing things half-assed, so I'm gonna go ahead and tear this apart again and get the other 4 put in, and then we'll do those ones. So I went ahead and just took off this valve cover to see what all I needed to remove. And so same thing, easy access to these bottom ones here, but the other ones, you can see there's the hole. Totally forgot to put those in. So you got the injector there, same with this one, that one. So pretty much just the injector plugs are in the way. So we'll have to knock those out. And I'll go ahead and remove this oil rail with our dummy plug, and then our standpipe. So let me go ahead and get all that removed, and then I'll cut back in here. We'll get those tightened down, and I'll put this that clip into the rest of the video when I'm getting the rocker box on. Okay guys, so luckily I was able to pull everything apart, get all these rocker box bolts back in on both sides, and then the ones under the valve cover. Like I said, I'll put a clip in where it should be while we're doing the injectors, so you guys don't forget. But I just want to show you that did end up putting all those in on both sides. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the high pressure oil pump here. Get this J tube out of the way. And my new pump came with the original Ford gaskets O-ring, so go ahead and just stick that one in there, the yellow one. So go ahead and grab your high pressure oil pump. And like I said, I went with the diesel side adrenaline billet high pressure oil pump. This thing looks good, even though you won't be able to see it. But this should support up to 190 cc injectors, I think. So go ahead and remove that plug there. They also make a high volume one if you need that. For this build, I don't think we need that for right now. Line up your holes, make sure your O-ring's on there. Grab your 3 bolts. Let me clean these off real quick. Go ahead and drop those down in there. Go ahead and get those snug. And then you're going to torque those to 18 foot-pounds. And then go ahead and pull this plug here. And out of that package they give you, you're going to grab this smaller O-ring here. It's going to fit down inside there. Grab your J-tube. Going to replace this O-ring as well. Let's try to get up under that one. This one's a little harder. And you see that one just snapped off. And I replaced this one not too long ago, and it's already real hard. So let me get these bolts out of here. I just put them there so I didn't lose them. And I'm just going to put a thin coat of oil right on top of that. And then this new O-ring, I'll put a little on this too. So go ahead and get that in place. Get your 2 bolts there. Grab an 8mm. Snug those up. Then grab your torque wrench and torque those to 71 inch-pounds. So then go ahead and grab your O-ring here. Go ahead and just get this around your J-tube. It's kind of hard to get on here. There we go. Just like that. And then once we get the rear cover and that on, I'll probably put some assembly lube on these gears since the gear's brand new. I'll probably just throw some of that AMS oil on there and then just kind of let it run down since this gear is new and I don't want to run it dry. Next, go ahead and get your lifting mount into place onto your cylinder head here. Grab your 6mm Allen head, tighten those up. Next, let's go ahead and install the camshaft position sensor. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I replaced this probably, I think it was about a couple months ago. So I'm putting this one back in. Like I said, I had a no start condition and it was throwing a code for the camshaft position sensor. So I'll be reusing this one, but you guys most likely will want to replace this if you haven't already. And I just inspected my O-rings and those all look good, so I'm going to reuse those O-rings. But go ahead and stick this in here. Watch out because it is magnetized at the end here. Go ahead and stick that in. Make sure those O-rings get in there. So make sure you push it in. Go ahead and get your bolts in here. And then you'll torque that to 10 foot-pounds. All right, guys, so now we can go ahead and get the front cover on. Before we do the steel gasket, Ford says we need to put some silicone here where the bottom of the crankcase meets the top here. So right where your bed plate gaskets are on each side. So just right where it joins together is what they say. So I'll be using the Motorcraft TA31 again for this. So let's just go ahead and apply a little bit of a bead here. So just kind of something like that. Same on this side here. So I'm just going to do something like that. Wipe any excess off. And then I might have got a little bit too much right here, right where the bed plate is, gasket. Just kind of mix it in there. Just put a little bit on the bottom here. Do not want this leaking again. Same with this side, just rub a little bit above and some below that. Something like that would be all right. All right, guys, so before you get your front cover gasket on, you want to make sure you got these two dowels. So you got that one right there, this one right here. And then to keep the gasket aligned, keep it from shifting, Ford recommends you fabricate something to hold the gasket. So what I did was I got these bolts I had laying around, M8 by 1.25 by 40. And those screw in here and fit perfect. And I just took my grinder and I cut off the heads of it. So that way we can still get the cover over those. We'll get some of the bolts started and then we can unthread these out and get the normal bolts in there. So take your new metal gasket from your lower gasket kit. Go ahead and get those over those bolts there. And then over the dowels. It's kind of like that. Like I said, these two will keep this from shifting sideways up here. That's what you want. Grab your front cover. Go ahead and get that slid over the crankshaft. And then you want to just pay attention to those dowels back there. Make sure that stays on there. And I think I need to turn this a little bit. Make sure those are on down there. On here. Try and get that slid on. Like that, grab a few bolts. And just go ahead and get some of these started in here. To kind of hold it in place. Once you get a few of those in, just go ahead and get a couple of those kind of snug. Once you get a couple of those snug, you can go ahead and pull these ones out. Put your normal ones in there. And then I'll go ahead and get the rest of these all snug, and then we'll go ahead and torque them. Grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque all those to 18 foot-pounds. And I'll probably just kind of crisscross some of these just to get it on there, torqued evenly. So just like that, and then just double check, make sure you got all those, because there is a lot of those bolts. Okay guys, let's go ahead and move on to the low pressure oil pump here. So my old one was just fine, but I did just go ahead and get a new one, and there's the part number for that. I'll save my old one just in case. But so what they want you to do, if you notice on the crankshaft here, let me tilt this motor a little bit. So you got a flat side, and then of course it's round. So this is going to slide over just like how we pulled it off. This is going to slide over just like that. And they say to go ahead and lube that up. So I'm going to put some lube on the inside. This is the inner one. So go ahead and put some Flexplate. Just going to coat the inside of this real quick, because you don't want this to run dry when we go ahead and start it up. So go ahead and lubricate this really well. Go ahead and slide that on. Like that. And then you're going to do the same to the outer one here. Lubricate the outside. And then I'm just going to put some on the inside as well, because you don't want that to, like I said, run dry. So go ahead and mix that around. And now you're going to go ahead and slide this over that. And again, you got to kind of get it lined up just perfect for this to slide in correctly. So let me see if I can just get it in here, if that would be easier. See, now it's kind of stuck on here. So go ahead and get this kind of set in here first. It's kind of a tricky thing to get started in here. Let's try going this way. So get it slid in kind of like that. And then let's see if we can start it like this maybe. Just make sure it's on there correctly. So there's the inner, or the outer one, got that one in. So it's actually harder than it looks. Grab my pick here. Let's go ahead and try this again. So try this one here first. And then let's go ahead and try this one here. There we go. So yeah, get the inner one on first, and then you just kind of got to work it and get the outer one on. So it should look like that. Then they say to wipe any excess off. just like that. And just to be safe, guys, I'm gonna put just a little more inside here. Like I said, I don't want this running dry. So if you do something kind of like that, that should have plenty of lube like that. Now we'll go ahead and get our cover on. And here's the part number for the cover. And it includes the gasket, the cover, and then they also include these two little dowels here, which I'm not going to use because these ones in here are already in there. Plus they don't really get bent out of shape and everything, so should be fine reusing those if you want. And then here's the gasket. I'm just going to take a little bit of this luber plate here, just kind of go around the gasket just to help lube it up a little bit here. Just kind of something like that. And then this can only go one way. Got the curved part up there. And then just make sure this gets pushed in. You can see the little spots in there where it kind of holds this gasket into place. So just make sure those are all in there. And then this too can only go on one way. So you got your dowel holes there. So looks like it's gonna go like this. So those two dowel holes, get those lined up. Go ahead and push this on. Grab your bolts. Get all these started on here. Get those snug, and then we'll torque those. Grab your torque wrench. You're gonna torque those to 10 foot-pounds. And just double check. That. Next, we'll go ahead and install the front main seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get these out of the way because we're gonna have to screw a couple bolts in there anyways. All right, guys, so now let's go ahead and do the front crankshaft oil seal here. So I will be using this special tool. I got this off Amazon in a 4-pack for all the special tools you need for the 6.0. I'll put a link in the description for it. So we'll go ahead and see how this works. So what you're gonna do is take this tool here, and you got your dowel right there. You're gonna line that up. Get your 2 Allen bolts here. These are gonna be 10 millimeters. 10 millimeter Allen head. Let's go ahead and get those tight. So that's nice and even on the crank. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take some red Loctite here, and you're gonna go all the way around the outer edge here of the crankshaft. Let's go ahead and put some of this on there. And then I'm just gonna kind of mix it around here with my finger. Like I said, just right on the outer edge here. Try not to get any on your special tool here. If you do, we'll wipe it off. So just kind of like that. Go ahead and take your new seal here and go ahead and, you can see the wear rings on there. So go ahead and slide that on there. Take your tool. You can see that sits right on the seal perfectly fine. Then with your bearing, and then your nut. And we'll go ahead and start tightening that. Let me grab a wrench. That's gonna be a 24 millimeter, or you can use a adjustable or crescent. So let's go ahead and start tightening that till it bottoms out. See my engine rotated there. Yeah, it looks like I need to get a longer socket. So you see it kind of just bottom out. It's about right there. I think we're good. Go ahead and back this off. Pull your nut, bearing, then your tool off. You can see pretty much flush all the way around. So should be good just like that. And if you got any Loctite, just wipe it off there. And then just go ahead and pull these off. There we go. Front main seal is installed. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and throw on the harmonic balancer. So go ahead and grab that, line up your dowel. And I did just go ahead and clean the back of this off because there's a bunch of dirt and debris. So just try and scrape that off since this is kind of balanced on here. Get that on there like that. And now they say that you should always buy new bolts when doing this. So I went ahead and got a set of these ARP 150-2505. That includes all 4 bolts, and then some of the ARP lube, and then some washers. And they give you, just like the crankshaft flange bolts, they give you some instructions. But you can see right there, this is for the 6.0 and the 6.4, same thing. Lubricate the bolts again, and then we're gonna torque these to 90 foot-pounds. I think the original stock ones is 50 foot-pounds, and then you go another 90 degrees, I believe. So what you're gonna do is grab your bolt, and they say to go ahead and lube right where the washer is gonna contact the balancer. So take some of this lube here. You're gonna just rub this on the balancer where the washer is gonna contact on there. Then it says to go ahead and lubricate the threads of the bolt. Throw some more on here. Mix that around. And then you're going to do the underside of the head of the bolt. And then there is a chamfered side on these washers, so make sure you get the washers facing the right way. Just go ahead and put some under here. Rub that around. That should be good. And go ahead and get these started in there. And then it says to get them finger tight. And we'll go ahead and try and torque them here. So let me get the rest of these in here. So then grab a 19mm 12 point, and you're going to tighten these in a star pattern. Let's just get them kind of snug here without it turning. Like that. Let me grab my torque wrench and let's see if we can torque this without it turning. Get your torque wrench, set it to 90 foot-pounds, and let's see if this is going to work or not. Like I said, it's going to be hard to keep this from turning. Yeah, it's just going to turn on us. Let me just get these closed then. Okay guys, so I'm going to try this and see if this works. So you got these 3 holes on the harmonic balancer. And these bolts here are the ones that go to the lifting mount that mount onto the cylinder head there. They're the what size are these? 6mm Allen heads, and these fit into these holes here. So if you tighten them up just a little bit, I'm going to see if I can get a pry bar on here. So if maybe I can hold this downward as I torque at least these 3, and then I can move it down to that one and get this one. Let's see if that works. So I'll sit here with my left hand here, get my right hand on this. Let's see if I can, right there, 90 foot-pounds. And it's supposed to go crisscross here, so let me just pull this one out. See if I can get it in this one here. So that should work there. Get this one. That. And looks like I'm gonna have to swap that again to get these 2 outer ones here. And actually, you know what? What am I thinking? We can do at least this one right here, and then we'll move it for that bottom one. So I was pretty close, I guess. It doesn't really take much to get to 90 from what I was doing. Right there, 90 foot-pounds. It's an easy alternative to keeping that from moving. All right guys, let's go ahead and mount the water pump. So again, I have the bulletproof diesel water pump here. And like I said earlier in the video, it used to be this blue color, the whole thing. Now it's turned into this like purplish. I don't know if it's from the heat or what. But anyways, and I did replace the O-ring, this rubber gasket here. Just make sure it's pushed up all the way against the water pump there. That was included in that lower gasket set from Felpro. You just got to kind of match it up. And then you can see you got this kind of weep hole on the top here. So that's going to mount up to the top. And the bulletproofdiesel.com will be on the bottom. So go ahead and get your water pump on there. Get your 10mm bolts started. And then we'll get these snug and we'll torque them on as well. So grab your torque wrench. You're going to torque those to 17 foot-pounds. So next you can go ahead and get your pulley on here. Get your holes lined up there. And then, so some of these have this plate like this. Mine does. I don't think all the 6.0s have this, so you may or may not have this plate that goes there. Get your 4 bolts here. Get them all started, and we'll snug them up and get them torqued as well. Then grab your torque wrench and you can torque those to 23 foot-pounds. And you may need to get a screwdriver or pry bar or something in there to keep this from spinning as you torque these down. Just like that. Okay guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get my exhaust manifolds on. So I did upgrade to the BD Performance high flow manifolds. So it comes with a couple manifolds. It does include these mall gaskets and then some hardware, new hardware for your up pipes, but it does not include the hardware to mount it with the spacers. So you do need to purchase these separate. You can see there's all new bolts and spacers. I'll put a link in the description for all this, but right away you can tell how much more stout those are compared to this factory one. And then also the weight, the BD ones are probably a good 5 to 7 pounds more than the factory ones. And then if you just notice, like from here to this one, it's a good, the factory one's right around a little over 2.5 inches, and then the BD one is pretty much right at 3 inches or so. So definitely probably going to flow a lot better and be a lot less restricted. And you can see it's even a little thicker as well. So, and then also what's nice is the driver's side manifold does include a it's already tapped and everything for a pyrometer in that, so you can measure your exhaust gas temperatures. So let's go ahead and get these mounted now. So it does say in the instructions that we need to put some anti-seize on the bolts. So I'll just be using some of this Permatex anti-seize. So let me get these bolts all lubed up here. We'll get it on with our gasket. All right, so let's go ahead and throw this on here. And again, this is heavy, so let's just try to get a few bolts started here. Got my anti-seize on, and then don't forget your spacers as well. Couple of them started, and then you can get the rest in. Just make sure you go through that gasket. So then grab a 10mm. Let's go ahead and get these kind of cinched up here, and then we'll go ahead and torque them. So then grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque these to 28 foot-pounds. And there is a special sequence. We're going to start here. It's going to be number 1. Followed by number 2 right here. This is going to be 3. Four directly below that one. Five is going to be up here. Six below that. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see. And then of course 7 and 8 on the end here. So then next you can go ahead and put your pyrometer adapter in if you got one. I'll be reusing mine from my old exhaust manifold. That'll go right up in there. If you guys don't have one, BD does supply you with a plug you can put in there. And I got them backwards. This is one up here for your exhaust back pressure sensor. I think earlier in the video I messed up and said this was for your pyrometer, but no, this is going to be the one right here. So I'll go ahead and get this threaded in. We'll get that snug and continue on. All right guys, so since we got our exhaust manifolds on, I think now I'm ready to go ahead and get it back on the crane off the engine lift. That way we can go ahead and throw on the rear cover and rear main seal. So let me go ahead and get this dismounted and up on the crane here. Okay guys, so as you can see, got it all mounted back onto the engine crane here. You can see I use those engine lift mounting brackets there, and then of course with the strap to level it out. So now we got plenty of access to get our rear cover on and then our rear main seal. Okay guys, so before we install the rear cover, we need to remove the old rear main seal out of here. You can take a chisel or a flathead and just kind of pound around, try to knock it out that way. I'm going to use my press, and I'm going to use, this is from the tool to get the rear wear ring off. This is the original rear main seal on this, so it's never been updated with the wear ring, so there's not one on the crankshaft on that side. But this is the tool to get that wear ring off, and what I'm going to do is kind of flip this over, and this fits perfectly into that rear main, and then I'll use my press and press it out. I'm just going to use a block of wood here, and I know it's a large piece of wood, but this is all I could find because I'm using my other pieces on the transmission. So let's just try that and see if we can go ahead and knock out that old rear main seal here. Yeah, it looks like my piece of wood's moving. Let me get it centered here. Oh, there we go. So you can see that knocked it out. Super easy. Probably doesn't take much to get that out of there. Just figured it'd be easier with my press. There's the old rear main seal. And then, like I said, I did went ahead and cleaned up this cover nice and good too, because it was kind of covered in oil. So all right guys, let's go ahead and install the push-in gasket for the rear cover. So you notice these two dots here, so you got that on your gasket here, so it can only go one way pretty much. So you want to go ahead and get this kind of pressed in here. Feed that around. So kind of like that. Just make sure it's pressed in there all the way. And I think I'm going to use a little sealant as well. Let me go look at something though on the back of the block there. Okay guys, so just was taking a look at this. So on the back here you got your bed plate gaskets that kind of poke out a little bit. This one's poking out a little more than this one here. And if you look at where it seals on the gasket back here, there's not much of an indentation for that bed plate seal to sit in. So I just kind of dry mounted it on here just to see what it would do. And those are so big on here that they're pushing on this so much, and it's making this kind of bulge out. So I'm afraid it's not going to get a very good seal like that. And in the Ford manual, it says to put a bead of sealant right along here where the bed plate or lower crankcase meets the block here. like I said, I don't want this to be leaking on me. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a fresh razor blade and I'm just gonna kind of saw this to where it's flat. Same with this one. Just saw it off to where it's kind of flat. And then I'll put my beaded sealant on here. Same with this side. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a bead of sealant, just a real thin layer along this whole gasket as well, just to help seal it up. So let's go ahead and get these cut off real quick. So like I said, just take a fresh razor blade, and like I said, I'm just gonna kind of chop that off to make this area flat. And then we'll use plenty of silicone, and it should be just fine to seal that up. So just gonna kind of hold it here. Just chop this off flat. Just like that. And then just kind of scrape away some of this old gasket material. And then like I said, well, you guys saw earlier in the video, I did put an extra layer of silicone on the inside of that bed plate gasket, so that should help seal it a little better as well. But I think that's going to be perfect just like that. And we'll fill it in with some silicone. So same thing on this side. And the front one, the front cover, still had these on the end as well, but that front cover gasket had some give. This rear one doesn't really have any give, so just see if I can do this kind of the same thing, just saw it off. You can see that one actually was more in there, so it sealed kind of a little better. So I'm thinking just like that. So then just go ahead and take some of your Motorcraft TA31, and let's just put a bead right across here, like I said. They say to just do that. Same thing on this one. Of course, this one I will fill in a little bit since it's not pressed fully against there. So let me just kind of put some in here. Said I just want to make sure this is sealed good. I do not want to come back in here and just for an oil leak. So I'll do something like that, and then just let me put another bead along here, right where it meets. That, and let's go ahead and lay a bead now on the actual cover itself. So like I said, just a real small thin one. I'm going to go on the inside, and then I'll kind of just rub it with my finger just to make sure we got a good seal on this guy. Kind of like that. And then, like I said, I'm just gonna run my finger along here, wiping off if I need to. Just filling in any imperfections on the aluminum here. And if you guys have ever used this Motorcraft TA31, this stuff has a weird smell to it. It doesn't have the normal like chemical smell as silicone does. It's almost like a dirty feet or stinky sock smell. It's kind of weird. So just something kind of like that, guys. So then go ahead and grab your rear cover here. Make sure you got your dowel here, and then your dowel on this side as well, which will go into these two holes. Just make sure everything looks good. I think we're golden. So go ahead and get that centered on here, on those dowels. Go ahead and kind of knock that into place. Grab all your bolts. Get these started. These will be 10 millimeters. And then grab your torque wrench. We're going to torque all those to 18 foot-pounds, and Ford doesn't specify if there is a special sequence, so just go ahead and start tightening them. I probably will alternate though. Just like that. So now let's go ahead and do the rear main seal. I will be using the special tool to get this on, and that's what this guy kind of looks like. So you want to pull that apart first, and you're going to line up this dowel hole with that dowel hole. Get that on there. Got your two 8 millimeter Allen screws. Go ahead and screw those in. And get those tight. And then just make sure that this is all clean around here. Same with on your cover here. Make sure there's nothing in the way. Going to prevent that from sealing correctly. You just see it's kind of dirty. And then, so if you take a look, so here's the old seal. Like I said, this is the original one from OEM Ford, and it's never been replaced, so it does not have the wear ring. So if your guys' have been replaced, you'll have a wear ring on your crankshaft that you need to remove first, using the other tool, kind of like what I did on the front crankshaft. And then this is our new updated seal, and you can see this does have the wear ring. And then they also sprayed it already with Loctite, so we don't need to put any Loctite on here. And then it includes this little piece here, which you will need to use as well. This will actually go on your tool, and let me show you that. So that is going to go inside here, and it kind of just clicks in like that. And then Ford says to go ahead and use a 50-50 of water and dish soap and just coat the outside of this seal in that 50-50 mix of dish soap. So let me go ahead and grab some of that real quick. Okay guys, so just a little soap and water here. I'm not going to get too carried away with this. Let's see if it'll even spray. Like I said, I'm just putting a little bit on here. And then I'll just kind of work itself on here, just to help it slide in, I think, a little easier. Try not to get it on the Loctite there. So I think that'll work. And then you'll go ahead and slide this over. Just be very careful. Kind of something like that. Get it centered on there. Grab your tool. It's going to go like this. Slide over that. Then you got your bearing. Stick your bearing on there, and then your nut. And then you can grab a crescent wrench or adjustable wrench, or 25 millimeter fits on this if you got one. And let's go ahead and start tightening this. And it should start pressing it on there. And you want to go, you'll kind of feel it just kind of stop, then you kind of know that you're pretty much good. Kind of right there, you feel pressure. So once you feel that pressure, you can't go anymore, just go ahead and back it off. Your bearing off along with your tool. And then you can keep this in here if you do another one. It's totally up to you guys, or you can discard this piece. And then go ahead and pull off this piece here. And looks like my tool is kind of stuck on there. So there you go, guys. Rear main seal is in, and it should be pretty much flush with your cover. And that looks good. Then you go ahead and clean up your Flexplate adapter. We'll get that on. Again, you'll just go on the dowel there. Get that kind of centered. And then you'll have to kind of just tap this on here, since we had to use a puller to get it off. Once we cinch down the Flexplate bolts, that'll get it on there a little better, but I think it's on there now. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and get our Flexplate on. So Ford recommends you do not reuse those original Flexplate bolts. So I did get a set of these ARP 150-2902. You can see that does say 6.4, but it's the same thing as the 6.0. And you can even see here in the instructions 6.0, 6.4. And what you want to do is we're going to lube up the threads of all the new bolts, and then also underneath the heads of the bolts, kind of like what we did on the harmonic balancer there. And there is a chamfered side of the washers again. So if you notice on the washer there, you can see that little divot there. That'll go towards the head. So like that. So I already got all these other ones lubed up, but you'll just take your ARP lube here. Go ahead and squeeze some of that on the threads. Go ahead and mix that in. And this stuff does make a mess, so just be aware. And then they want you to just put a little bit underneath the head of the bolt here. Kind of like that, and then just go ahead and mix that in. And then we'll go ahead and get our washers on, and then get the Flexplate on here. Go ahead and grab your Flexplate. And again, this can only go on one way because of the dowel, but you can see it is weighted. right here, so it's balanced. And then if you remember, when I took this off, I did paint some yellow paint on the backside there, and then a little on the front, you can kind of see. So I'm going to line that up with my torque converter just to make sure everything goes on the same way, because I don't want any issue with vibration or anything, especially since I removed that crankshaft flange there. So go ahead and get this on, make sure everything looks good, get that into position there, and let's go ahead and start some of these bolts here. So then you can grab a 16mm 12 point, and this is probably going to end up turning on me, but I'm just going to kind of snug these up a little bit, just alternating like a tire. Just want to make sure that kind of presses on there evenly. And then once you get them all kind of snug, I'm going to go ahead and have somebody hold the crankshaft up front there to keep this from turning. Okay guys, so I just went ahead and added these bolts to the harmonic balancer again, just to have somebody hold this. Again, these were for the lift points on the cylinder heads by the valve covers. So I'm just gonna have somebody stand here like this, and this is gonna want to turn downward, so I'm gonna have them kind of just hold it here as I torque those on the flex plate. Okay guys, so I got somebody up front holding that crankshaft, and then like I said in the instructions, you're gonna torque these to 70 foot-pounds in a star pattern. Then just go around, double check each one just to make sure. Just like that. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and get the high pressure oil pump cover on. I'm hoping I got enough room right here to still be able to get that on, but it's gonna be pretty close. I think we'll be all right. So we need to put some silicone along here where the back cover meets the block. You can see it kind of drops down, so you want to make sure you get some silicone on that. But before we get the cover on, I'm going to use some of this assembly lube. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lube up this gear here, because I don't want this running dry once we go to start that up, since that is a brand new gear. So I'm just going to take some of this, just kind of put some on there, and it should run itself down onto the other gear there, especially if I just let this sit overnight. Like I said, main goal is just, I don't want this running dry. Just kind of like that. So then you can take some silicone, like I said, we'll run it along here. Now, if you notice on this back cover here, there's no bolt holes for that high pressure oil pump cover. So I think what I'm going to do is when I get my gasket in place for the cover, I'm going to take a bead on the cover and just run it from like this hole all the way around, just to seal this up a little better. Seems how there's no bolts here to kind of hold that gasket down and prevent that from leaking. So again, just take some of your Motorcraft TA31, put a small bead on where the cover meets the block. Like that. Same with this side. Should be good there. Now let's get our gasket in our cover. So then go ahead and take your cover and then your new gasket that comes in the Powerstoke products kit. So you can see you got this little dot right here, so match that up with that. Can only go one way. And looks like I got it the wrong way. There we go. So get that into place there. And then of course all around. And now I did seal this up. I did do a video on this not too long ago. My old gasket was leaking. So I did do a video on how to seal this up. So if you guys are interested, check that out. But here we are again, resealing, because I'm doing a lot more work to it. Make sure you get that clicked into place. Kind of like that. So there's no bolt holes back here, and this is right where the cover meets. But I'm just going to run a little small bead of silicone along here just to help seal that up, especially this back portion. Like I said, not too much, but I'm thinking maybe right here. Okay, sorry about that. My kids opened the garage door. So just kind of like that, and then I'm going to run my finger along it here. Like I said, just a thin coat. Run some back here too. So like that. So let's go ahead and get our rear cover on here. Again, make sure this O-ring's on there. And hopefully I got enough clearance. My lifting bracket there, hopefully that's not in the way. So let's get this kind of set on here. And then you may have to kind of tap it into place because you got to get it past that O-ring. Kind of like that. And then go ahead and grab all your bolts, get those started, and we'll get them snug, and then of course torque them down. Again, those are going to be 8 millimeters. So then grab your torque wrench, and those are going to be torqued to only 8 foot-pounds. So really not much at all. So just like that. And then guys, I will be installing a new IPR valve. So I'll go ahead and change that out now. So they make this special socket. You can buy like these on Amazon, of course, or you can just take it off with the right size wrench. But I think this is made more for if you're doing it in the cab. So let's go ahead and pull this guy out of here. And if you notice, I'm actually hitting, there we go, hitting on the cylinder head, there we go. So then you can inspect your screen. You can see it got a little bit of, if it'll focus, a little bit of debris in there. But if you guys got a no start condition, this is one of the things you really want to check first, because a lot of times the screen will get clogged and then you can't build the correct oil pressure in that. So let me go grab my new valve. Okay guys, so new IPR valve. There's the part number. And if you take a look here, so since this is the original one, and here's the new one, you can see they strengthened the screen. So it's kind of an updated version of it. And I meant to say not get clogged, but sometimes something will fly through here and it'll poke a hole in that screen, and that causes your no start condition. So that's why they put this little thing in here to help prevent the screen from breaking easily. So let's go ahead and get this in. But I will save that because there was no issues with that IPR. I just figured at 220,000 I should probably replace it. And then looks like they're kind of already coated, but just trying to grab some oil here and coat these O-rings. So let's go ahead and screw this in. We'll tighten her up and get her torqued. Again, that's like super close to that connector, that cylinder head there. Then they say to go 37 foot-pounds on this guy. Let me just get a little tighter here. So right there, and that's about right where it was before. So kind of facing this way and then a little down. So should be good right there. Okay guys, so now let's just do some couple odds and ends here just to get this kind of buttoned up so we can get it in. So I'm going to go ahead and install the glow plug harness here, and of course my new harness. I did put a little lubricate, or you can use engine oil around the O-rings. So let's go ahead and get these pushed on to all four of the glow plugs on the driver's side here. Make sure those get pushed in all the way onto the glow plug. Just like that. And then this will kind of bring around. It'll go on the valve cover here, but I think we need to get the oil dipstick tube on first and get that nut on, and then this will go over top of that. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the oil dipstick tube. You can replace this O-ring on here if you want. This one's still in good shape, so I just put a little lubricate around it. So this will go through your exhaust manifold, and then of course down into your hole right there. Just make sure that's nice and clean. Stick this guy down in there. And then just make sure that gets pushed in. You can hear it kind of click, and then this will line up over here onto there. So let me get my nut for that. And then before you get your dipstick tube on here, get your glow plug harness pointing that way upward. And you go ahead and get your nut on here. Tighten that down. And then this will go on top of this here. maybe. So I think it goes this way. Just kind of like that. So now let's go ahead and install the exhaust back pressure tube into the exhaust manifold there. So I went ahead and just kind of undid it here. Put a little anti-seize on those threads in case we ever need to remove this again. Go ahead and screw this in there. Grab a 9/16. Let's go ahead and tighten that up. Then you can just grab the tube, and now would be a good time too, guys, to just clean this out. So spray some brake clean down through here. Just make sure this tube is nice and clean. Go ahead and stick that on there. Just kind of like that. I'm just going to get it snug. I'm not going to tighten it all the way in case we do need to move this around. And then before I forget, let's go ahead and tighten up these drain plugs here for the engine block for the coolant. Just go ahead and inspect that O-ring on here. If it looks good, which these still look good, so I'm not worried about those. We'll go ahead and get those snug, and then you can grab a torque wrench, and those are going to be torqued to 15 foot-pounds. And that'll be an 8mm Allen on those. So really not much at all. Okay guys, so next I'm going to go ahead and get my lines put in for my regulated return to the back of the cylinder heads here. So again, if you guys aren't doing the regulated return, you want to make sure, I said it earlier, but you want to make sure you pull the old plugs that go in right here out of your old cylinder heads, because these new heads do not come with them. So do not forget to do that. Or like I said, if you're going with the regulated fuel return, now is going to be a good time just to kind of get these lines set in here and up above the cylinder heads. Just going to make it a lot easier than doing it in the cab there. Okay guys, so this is going to be the regulated fuel return from Driven Diesel Performance. You can see the best part of it. It's made in America here. I think this is kind of a must-have for the Ford 6.0 because the two injectors in the back there at the back of the cylinder heads do not see the same amount of fuel pressure as the ones in the front. It's kind of a deadhead there. So this will eliminate that problem, give you longer injector life, and constant fuel pressure to those ones in the back there. So kind of a must-have, I think. But comes with all this stuff here. You can see there's our new lines, banjo bolts, all that hardware and all that. So let me go ahead and get these rear lines put on real quick. Okay guys, so I'm going to start out on the passenger side tube here. So just look at the instructions, Driven Diesel. They give you some really good instructions. Grab the correct tube for the passenger side here. And this is going to sit in here just like that. You can see they even have a little slot there for your fuel line. And it's going to sit kind of right above the fuel injector connector here, is what they're saying. But I'm going to leave it kind of loose. That way I can move it if I need to until we get this in the cab and get the injectors plugged in. So grab a banjo bolt they give you. And it's pretty cool on their banjo bolts. You can see, even says right there, Driven Diesel 6.0 liter with the American flag. It's pretty neat. But grab a couple copper washers here. You're going to stick one on there like that. Your other one is going to go through. You're going to stick it through there, and then it goes on the other side. Just like that. Go ahead and get this threaded in. So kind of like that, guys, like I said, and then I'll adjust it if I need to, because there is not very much of adjustment, but there is a little bit. So I'm just going to do something like that. Let's get the driver's side on. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do the same to the passenger side here. The driver side, that tube kind of sticks up quite a bit. So if I need to remove that to get the engine in, I will, because I don't want to end up breaking or bending that tube at all. And it should still be pretty easy to get these fuel lines in. It seems I'll have the up pipes out, but I'm just going to try this way first, and if I have to, I'll remove it. So grab your passenger side tube, and same thing. Get your copper washer over your banjo bolt. Stick that through. Get your other one on. Go ahead and thread that in here. And still leave room for adjustment like that. And then I will leave this shield off, this one here, until I get it inside, because this was kind of getting in the way as well with my exhaust when I was pulling the engine out. So that'll go like that though, and then that fuel line will be behind that. So you want to make sure that's behind the heat shield here. And then before I forget, guys, let's go ahead and get this lifting point here back on the front cylinder head, even though I'm not going to be using it to install the engine. Okay, guys, so I think we're about ready to go ahead and get this in the engine bay. I could probably do a little more, but I'm just going to do it while it's in the engine bay. I just want to get this in there so I know it's bolted down and all that, and we should be good. I did go ahead and just use some tape and covered up some of these open holes here so nothing drops down in there, just to be safe.